How many of you have been downloading the source code? You've been downloading one? Haven't? Oh. Justin?
Last week source code.
Last week we downloaded. Last week you downloaded. Yeah. Oh, okay. So whenever you download, how you do it? You go to this link, right? Then yes, click this one.
Yeah.
Download.
You want post on it, the postman.
So you download as a zip file lah.
Yes.
But can run on the server every time.
Postman can work as well.
Oh, that means we can run on the Glassfish server lah. Postman can work. So we do a quick recap.
I actually removed my Java JDK, right? So would that actually impact my Glassfish? I didn't notice any difference still.
You remove JDK, but no difference.
No, I mean because I removed the whole entire Android studio lah, because my JDK hide inside.
Oh, I think you have a JDK outside, is it? Not inside. Maybe your JDK is in the. So when you install JDK, it's normally in the program files, not the Android. Android Studio would maybe they own, but they can also take the one outside.
Wow.
Hey, what's so long? Hey, you're not here last week. Were you here last week? That's right. Okay. So let's do a quick recap. What happened so far? So we started Android, Java, started the Java services already, and the methods that we completed so far with database would be, see, I remember from the Postman call the setup. So in Postman, we created the endpoint that calling for last week for the code that's been completed. So if you actually we try the Postman import, you should import into a collection here called Marketplace API. Yeah, Marketplace API. Okay, so Marketplace API, if you have a collection in your Postman, if you expand it, you see there's three methods here. One is authorization, second is get product by category pagination, and third add product listing. So far we have three methods that we set up, created. So the requirement here that we actually done in the code is option A. This is the one that we actually did lah. With get products that belong to a category, which is the get method here. By category with pagination control. Okay. Next one we added was the add product to listing. This is the post the product to sell. Okay. So let me just highlight this too. Actually should just maybe I do strike through. Okay. Can I do strike through? Strike through. This one A and E. Set that. Okay. At the same time, we also actually implemented the authentication. Although you realize authentication is not asked in any of these endpoints, it is mentioned in the requirements here. Right? Okay. So the sample code has basic authentication and token-based authentication. Choose one, and you should be able to have satisfied this criteria. So what are we going to do today? Is since we covered some product API, okay, we can choose either to do a remove, because we did this is a get request, a post request, this is a delete and a put request. Okay, so these two are pretty straightforward. to try to work. Okay, so let me just open up Eclipse. We're done. Okay, yeah. So today we'll target to work on FNG, update a product detail, remove a product from the listing, and then we can do H, view detail one product with headers links for further action. Okay. If we have additional time, then maybe I'll cover one more endpoint. Okay. So let's just highlight these three targets. So first of all, we're going to try the update product detail. So you all can remember updating is using the put HTTP verb. So far we have get and post. We haven't tried the put, right? So to have the put, to design actually implement the web service to handle the put request, we'll go back to our resources under products. So let's just expand this. So far what do we have? If you look at the folder ones, if I add get all get one offers, which is part of the product. Okay, so we don't have anything for update. So let's just add one for updating. So update request. So the very standard thing for creating any web service is this part about public response. So response always is the return product, or return result, and you can name the method any way you might like it. So if I do update, what is the parameter that I like to accept? So likely an update would require me to, most likely I want to send the product detail, the product object as JSON. Okay, and of course if you're doing update, then you need to have the annotation to say this is going to handle put, because my client Android app is going to send it as a put request. Now if I'm accepting a object, the product type, then very likely I want to set the endpoint to do a consume application JSON. Okay, and okay, if you put there, it will probably ask you to do an import quick fix, right? So we need to import. Now let's go back to the method. So as with any web service response, you should try to return OK and build. Now in this time around, you may not want to return anything to OK, because you're not adding something, so you're going to return an ID. You may want to return something for a success or for true or false, but actually that's not very important. Okay, maybe a false if let's say an exception occur, you caught it, so the Android app can tell the user that something happened. So here what I will do is, okay, so what am I expecting to update, right? So I would lean on the product manager class to create the method to do the actual SQL update. So I won't do that yet, so let's go to the product manager class and create that method. So here so far I have count, find, create. No, nothing to do with updates yet, right? So let's just create a method for updating. So that a public method. Choice of whether you want to return something, I think you can choose, up to you. If I don't, I think it's not a big issue. Name of the method, the product, parameter, expecting to send product task. Okay. In the method here, what in the SQL statement, what will happen is, the string, I think it's the same rules can apply. Try, catch, get connection. Okay. And if there is an exception, catch it and probably need to send it to somewhere. Right, a login facility for you to record any issues. What happens in between here is the actual prepared statement. So we are going to use a prepared statement again to do the update. The key thing is what is in the SQL statement, right? So you have to remember, recall to in SQL to update data in the database on the table, you have to use the command update, and then you specify the name of the table, right? And then you have to say what are you gonna set, right? So this part is tedious because you have to actually specify for every column that you must set first. So it's a little bit difficult to dynamically decide what columns to set, right? I think the issue here is also so there's a few things caveats to look at this. If I were to set a value, I'm actually going to replace whatever's in the table or in the column row. So if I were to get an object to say replace my product information with something new, so let's take a look at this. And for some reason, let's say I want to replace this first row, right? T-shirt, size, M, and all that. And the object I got, for some reason, doesn't have anything in full description, like empty string. And that will actually override the database straight away. Okay, so the database doesn't really care because you don't need put in, if I don't put any rules there, um, unless I want to check. So when you do a set method, especially when I take a whole object and do a set, and say I'm going to replace every single thing from this, I'm going to make sure that the object sent over has all the correct information. That step is actually more like data validation, which can be do in two places. One in your Android app to do like checking, the other part is in the server side web services you check again. So that normally when we do two type of validation, client side validation and server side validation. Why? Because sometimes I think this tradition comes from web application because some people have disabled JavaScript, so a lot of client side validation doesn't work. So the server has to check the data again. Okay, so nevertheless, very much the drill here to update the columns remains the same. So let's say whatever the update is the same as whatever I'm going to, whatever that I was allowing to insert. I'm thinking a very simplistic way of looking at this because in some application that I developed before, the requirements to update data is different from inserting data. So sometimes updating doesn't update the full set information. They only allow you to change certain things. So they don't really do a one-for-one matching. Here I'm doing very much a one-for-one matching. So when I expected to send a updated product back, columns or properties that don't change, example like short description didn't change, it should be the same as what it was before. This feature of SQL that allows you to update columns like this, actually in NoSQL system, there is a better way to do this. In fact, in NoSQL system, when you get an object, you can selectively choose what columns and properties to update itself, doing a one sweep across. So in this aspect, actually NoSQL is faster, easier to do updates compared to regular SQL. So here I have the statement update product. So here the values are going to set. So you need to remember that between every property or column and the value, I need to have a comma to delimit so that I can add multiple columns to update. So you see that I have name equal question mark comma, price equal question mark comma. So the comma is very important. If you do put the comma, you'll get an SQL exception error. It means the syntax is wrong. So at the end of this, I need to specify, of course, very importantly, the ID. Now, if I leave it like this, you will just update everything in the database. Now, if you find that the line is too long in Eclipse, what happens? You can actually kind of like break the string up. You notice that Eclipse actually very nicely adds a plus for you. Yeah. So in a lot of languages, and your statements are very long, you may tend to do a line wrap. You configure your ID, or you purposely add a line break yourself. But you need to put plus to combine the strings together. If you don't put a plus, you'll get another Java error here. Okay, so at the end here, after having all these conditions, I need to, having all the set methods, I need to specify where, what's the condition. So this is important because I want to only update one row, not everything. So I want to take the unique identifier, which is the ID column, to identify the row that I want to update. So I'll just say ID equals to question mark again. So this is a statement that has a lot of parameters, okay, and it has to be filled up by doing all your set methods. So if I want to set a string, then I like name, I should do set string, and I want to set a number, should be set integer. Okay. Oh. So this part it will be kind of boring and routine because I'm just going through what type typing what I need to do. Okay. So let's see. So if you are actually doing this at the same time, maybe you can catch up with me when I'm typing all this stuff. Okay. Full description is string. Okay. View types. Okay, so careful here because sometimes your object has, for example, view types is not a straightforward string, is a string array. You need to do a join, a string dot join. Okay, so I'm joining the thing by using comma, and the elements come from here. Okay, I think so. Okay, number 5 is short description. Number 6 is category ID, which is integer. So this I need to change to set integer. Change to 6. Number 7 is images, which is actually another string array. You do this string join. Okay, and hero image is just one text. Likes will be set integer. Okay. And finally the ID. So ID is a set integer. This is at position parameter index 10. Change this to 20 years. Okay, so far so good. Here you end it off by running execute. So in this case, in updating a product row in table, when you execute, you get it done. There's nothing else like getting the ID because you're not inserting data. And what is useful from the execute method here is that you tell you whether if install is successful or not. Now if you just throw an exception, then you will catch it within the exception block, and then you can decide do you want to send to the login facility, maybe return the result as a false. Okay, so that's the reason why you might want to change your void to boolean. Do this. So assume it's true until it's false. Okay, better to do this. And here log the exception. Best practice to do this. Okay. So here is my very simple update statement. Now since I got this done, now I go back to my resources here, and then I think this is probably the simplest thing. So here I can create an instance of product manager. You realize that actually if I use so much of product manager instance here, I should actually, instead of doing an instance of this all the time, I can actually do this as an instance here, right? So I can say this is a private, right? Okay, and take away that. So I don't need to always keep on creating instance of a Java class. Okay, so product manager, I now have update product, pass update product project in. Okay, as a result, okay, the result here, maybe I'll return it here, plain text, true or false. Okay, so this is done. So let's, okay, so if that's the case, let's publish this and test it out. So far easier, straightforward, right? So assuming you don't check any data validation, it's very straightforward. You will check data validation before you do this would be like, oh, is there, you will check for validity of data. For example, price has to be there. It cannot be a negative number. Okay. Maybe a business rule is that they must have at least one image. Okay. Likes cannot be a negative number. Category ID must be valid. So these are the basic data checking. And a lot of it depends on the business rules. Now, like what do you want to let the use, what do you want the users to have, how do you want the features to be available to users, and also based on UX. So if the UX has things like, oh, they must key in certain information, then you should validate those in server side. So if this works out well, we'll go to the delete method, which is even simpler than this. Okay, so now in Google Postman, I'm going to add one more folder here. So normally I do this because okay, the how I always add the thing in Postman is I just take the existing get a post method, copy it because it's calling the same resource, right? And the URL doesn't actually change except for the method. Just use back the same thing and then put change method. Okay, so this is just a shortcut. Um, so now I'm doing a put, actually very similar to post, right? Oh wait, I think I missed out something. I missed out something very important. Something very, very, very important. What do you think I missed out when I created the put method? Anybody figure out what I missed out? I missed out something important. What do you think I missed out? Something I didn't do. I didn't do something. Okay, you look at my put method here. Okay, so here remember what's the proper design for doing a put method. How do I tell the method that I'm updating a certain ID? I'm missing this one. So do you understand why I'm missing that one? Okay, so whenever you do a put method, normally we will use the path as a way to send a parameter for the identifier of the item or resource you want to update. So now you put an ID there. What I did just now is I totally skip that and I just send the product in. It doesn't actually, that one is still fine because it just so happened that in my SQL I use the ID from the object itself. Yeah, which still works actually. So what could have been better in terms of design, not necessarily the end result is different, but end result is the same, is explicitly get the ID as a path parameter, send it into the web service API, and then send the ID to update instead of using the product ID in the product class here. Right? Something like that. Okay, so the ID will be coming from here. So how this method will look like is be a put products, then for example one, right? Then followed by your JSON body. Okay. So let me set this one up. Okay, so do I have authentication? Well, actually, I didn't create any authentication here, so if I should, so I want to say that only members are allowed to update a product, in on sale, in the listing, not anybody. So now I have to actually republish this. So why are we publishing that? So put method here will require something like ID. Okay. So let me just grab. So let's say this is the thing that I want to update. Okay. I'm going to update this. This. So I change the name. Have the rest of the parameters in. It's done. Okay. So let's try to update. Okay. So status false. Oops. So status is false. Okay, not good. That means what happened is status is false. Didn't get updated. So there was an exception here. Okay. Oh, okay, I know why. Wait, images, hold on. Images due type. Oh no, actually not. Likes and category, integer. Okay. So not sure what happened. Let's put a breakpoint. Start plot. So let's try this command again. Oh, so fast. False. Still false. Okay, so I trap the statement here. Hmm? Wait. Okay, here. Oh, so far so good. Okay. Oh, syntax error. Okay. Table marketplace product. Oh, okay. Haha. It should be products. Right. Okay. Stupid mistake. Right. We update code. Again. Okay. So let's see. Eh? Yeah, recording. Okay, so I changed product ID one, the name, to the new name. Let's go to the database and take a look. Let's do a get products now. Let's see. Sure. Token. Yeah. Okay, so you can see the name is changed when I get back the products. Let's go to database and check. So click refresh on top. So that's changed. Everything else seems to look okay. Yeah. Okay, so that's the update method. Next one I'm gonna do is the see. So update method done. Next one I'll do is the delete or remove a product from the listing. Okay, so when you remove data, there are two strategies in the world where we go by. One is you actually remove it from the table, so the data will cease to exist. The other one, the other one that is something is quite commonly done is that you put a marker like set to archive status. So you change the status rather than actually removing it physically from the table. So it's good and bad. If you remove the data physically from the table, it does mean that the table gets smaller and it doesn't grow over time. So the size of the table never changes. But if you don't actually remove from the table by just putting a marker and say, oh, then these things that are marked as archive doesn't appear, over time your product table or this table will get immensely huge with a lot of information that is actually redundant. So why people like to put a marker rather than physically delete it is because the business sometimes want an audit trail. So they want someone to track back, oh, this thing was there and it existed before, rather than just remove it physically from the database. Because in very large system, it's actually easier to just mark something as not there rather than removing it. It's not as simple as our case is one product. In some places they have a lot of link related tables, so they would rather just leave it there. Okay. But for our case, we'll just deal with it in a simpler manner of removing a product physically from database. So let's say remove product and okay. So to remove a product and be able to identify it, of course we will identify by the ID. Okay. So a lot of things will hold true for this method. First of all, who can remove a product, a member, but also you want to make sure that the product can be removed by the person who posted it as well. Okay, I cannot be removing someone else's product, right? Okay, and the HTTP method using here would be delete. As for the path, because we will provide the ID will be a path parameter. In this case, it doesn't have there's no need to send a body, so there's no consume JSON. Neither, I mean, in terms of response, how it produces the response is up to you. You may give a JSON response with some messaging or just a true and false. Okay, so after adding this few, it's in. So return response.okay. So you might have a result from somewhere. But we need to have definitely the similar method, a method in Product Manager to do the. Let me just write on the top easier. Okay, so I'll just create a public method with a result boolean true or false. So false means it didn't delete successfully, true it deleted successfully. So this is to remove product and by ID. Okay, so here in remove product by ID, select my result boolean to return it later, and do a try and catch. Okay, and here I will create a prepared statement. The SQL statement to run this will simply be delete from products where okay, the reason why I'm having capitalized for the keywords is just as for I can read it easier. There's no need to be capitalized here or lowercase. So here where ID is equal to question mark. Okay, so set my parameter 1 to the ID and then just execute. Because pass the result of execution to result. Okay. This is one thing I didn't do. I think I didn't do this for the update. Okay, so it's simple as this. I go back to my resource and just need to call this out. Remove product, pass ID in. So my ID will come from the path parameter. So I need to declare this. ID. Oh yes, path parameter. Yeah, should do this. So this is the delete method. So there, okay, come back to here. So just now I actually created a put method. Let me save this put method in Postman's collection. So this is update product. Paste API, save to here. Okay, so now I'm going to take the same URL, put it to a new tab. Okay, it's the same thing actually. Then I go to the get and change it to a delete. In this case, because there isn't any body, so I don't bother with the body section. But I think I still need the authorization. So this is bearer token. Paste it in. Updated. This is updated. Okay, so I'm going to delete the first product. Okay, that I had actually created before. ID not one. So sending request. Oh, forbidden because token invalid. Scanning token. Yeah. Okay, so well apparently result is nothing. Okay, maybe I shouldn't do the result here. I think the execute returns a different kind of result than what I was expecting. So let's take away that. Leave the result to be false only when there's exception. So now I deleted the first product. Will it still exist if I do a get products? So go to my get products endpoint, update my token. Okay, so now I'm gonna do a get products listing. Oops. Oh, too much. Okay, so now I can see that oh, what happened to my black T-shirt item? It's gone. Or not? Let's take away category. Oh, it's really gone. Okay, let's take a look at the database. Yep, and it's not there. Okay, so this is how you delete an item from the table. So very straightforward, and there's no undo for this. Okay, so depending on the database system you set up or you're using, some database system has this thing called rollback. So rollback means they actually maintain a certain state. In SQL Server, they call it transaction log. So transaction log actually can be used to roll back your database to the previous state if you want to return it to a certain state at one point in time. So transaction log in SQL Server are quite useful for that purpose. Now in other databases in MySQL and all that, depending on the version you're using, typically it's an enterprise system that will have this kind of feature called transaction log. So they allow you to do some kind of undo to some effect. But most of the time you try not to do undo because if your application is very complicated, you have a lot of related tables, your undo might take quite a long time to actually work to run. Okay, so remember when you delete, it's delete once and for all, it's permanently removed forever. You cannot get it back. But that's okay. So we actually created a delete, or we've done a delete already. Yep. So right now is 7:33. We finished 2 endpoints. We still got 2 more hours to create things. So let's go to the H, view details of one product, video things. Okay, so H is interesting because right now we have a get all, we have a create one, update one, delete one. So naturally you still need one more is get one product detail, right? So you get one product details is particularly useful when you provide a link to do two things. For example, a link to do an update, a link to do a remove. Okay, and maybe other links to, for example, like show all the offers. Okay, so there's a lot of interesting links you can create in the product detail JSON to say, oh, now you can actually do other things based on the state of the product. This is also depending on the state of the current user looking at it. For example, if I'm the seller and I'm looking at my own product details, I can do things like amend product details. But if I'm a visitor, I look at your product, and the endpoint returns the JSON object based on the user, it won't have the link to update or delete. So this is what I mean by details. So it's a creating a kind of a stateful representation of the data, even though your infrastructure network doesn't have state. So let's do that in the okay. So in the products existing product Java, if you download the code, I think there's actually a get one product method here. Okay, so there's a get one product here, and what it does is create new product details, um, and have an action generator and create the product detail actions. Okay, so maybe let me add the get one product into the link here. So then take the URL. Okay. Oh, sorry. So for the delete, I want to save it. Make sure I save this product from listing. Okay. Now go to my get one product. So if I were to get one product and I want to look at my get list, so I try to get number ID 3. So this will be the URL product and put number 3 there. Does it? Is it authenticated? Oh yes. Only members can see. Okay, so get a key for this. See if my key is still valid. No, not valid anymore. Okay, so what point is this? Okay. So what happened here is when I use my current get method. Oh, it's using this get product. No detail. Let me change the detail first. Okay. So this part of the code is still empty. There's no actual database retrieval and there's no construction of the other properties of the product details. So we're gonna see what I created previously. Let's do that. Okay, so the object return, so this is no data, it's just the scaffold, the object structure. Everything else looks just like the product class, except there's one new attribute, a property called actions. So actions will be a list of actions whereby maybe depending on the user or the situation or the status of the product, I can do an update, remove, view offer, add an offer, etc. So all these actions will change depending on the state of the product. So the product is, let's say, sold, then you can't add an offer to it. Okay? If let's say the product is not yours, you're not the owner, you cannot edit and delete. So these are the example of what the state, how the state can change. So since it's empty, we should actually create the method in the products manager to retrieve actual product and populate it. So let's go to the products manager class. So now I'm going to add one method to return the product information. Okay. At the moment, it's a little bit pointless in terms of getting one product detail compared to getting the list, because in the list and the list format and the detail format, they're actually the same. Yeah, but normally, typically, the list you have less information displayed compared to the full one. So let's work with this as a base for the detail, and then later we change the list to something more summary format. So here I have get product. Something that I will return eventually. Okay, but in between is my regular, try catch get connection kind of thing, and also a prepare statement. Okay, so I'm going to copy from my previous delete statement because I can do this. The delete and the select actually is not much difference except for delete changes to select, and then I need to specify that I want to get all the columns. Let's see, catch. Okay, same thing, no change. And of course, my statement needs to set only one parameter, which is ID. Okay, now because this is a read statement, a query, I am not going to use execute. I need something to return me a result set. Okay, so to return a result set is execute query. That gives me a result set object, and I need to check if result next. So remember, every time you do a query, it's always giving you a table, a very Excel list form. So imagine there are rows, and if there are no rows, this next will tell you false. Okay, but if next gives you a true, that means it's gonna point to the available row, then you get your data. Okay, so this part will be tedious because you actually have to create a instance of the class that you want to. We call it hydration lah. We hydrate the product with actual information. So if your product information is a lot, this will be quite boring to do. Okay, when you deal with result sets, right, it's similar to find all products, right? Instead of doing the set, you do the gets. So things like, oh, I get my IDs, I get all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Okay, so it's a bit tedious. Okay, so I remember that I did create a shortcut method to give me array list based on result set, right? Result set to product list. So maybe I should do this. So I don't want to create a new, or rather I don't want to type everything over again. So let me make use of the existing method, result set to product list. Okay, push the result in. I will get a array list. Yeah, array list of products. Now I'm not interested in a list, but only one item. So my find product will basically just be first item. Okay, so something different, something that I need to take note of when I do this. Okay, before I calling result set to product list, I actually call result.next. Okay, but inside result set to product list, the method here, there is another result next. Okay, so what is going to happen if I go this way is this. Basically, the pointer when it goes next, you point the first record. Okay, then I pass the result with already pointed to the first record to this method. What happens in this method is that when I call result.next again, it will point to the next row which is nothing there. Why? Because this query will only return me one row. Okay, so if I do leave this line of code as it is with the first with my own result next, and then inside here it does it again, I will already get no data out. Okay, so because I know that this already does a checking or result next, should just don't do a result next check, straight away call that method. Cast product. Okay. So this method will give me a list. Now the list will expect to only have one item inside or none at all. So if there are no items inside, we check, right? So products size, if it's 1, then I will do this. So I will pull out the first index and assign it to the find product. So if there's any result with find product, return me the product based on ID. If there's no result based on ID, it doesn't matches, then the find product object return will be a null. So now coming back to here, get one product. So here, this get one product, I will need to put out, let's say, so I will say this product manager get product by ID. So this will give me this product information. So we put the product information here first. Or ignore the actions for now. Okay. Just do a quick test. So I'm going to return number 3. Okay, I'll do something about token. Expires too fast. Get number 3. Yeah. So this is my product number 3. We change to number 4. There's a 4. Okay, 4, 5. There. Something that doesn't exist. Nothing. Okay. So this nothing here actually is because grab product is noun. So when you have a noun object and you're going to return a JSON, it will give you practically nothing there, right? Yeah. So if you are handling a situation like that, please take note that when you convert a response, sometimes if you have nothing, no result here, you may be an exception in Android application. Okay, so this is the basic get product. But what I want is actually moving towards this goal of a product with links for further actions. So initially I created this project, this class called product detail model, okay, that has an actions attribute or property. So let's take a look at that particular model. So product detail model is a very simple extension of product class. So it inherits all product class basic attributes, but add on one more item called actions. Now I want to have a convenient way of, or rather an easy way of turning this get product into product details. So how do I do that? One way is actually create a constructor and then map it uh, property to property. So let's say I create a constructor with a product here. So the constructor would accept a product class item. I can do a mapping here like this. To try something else. Okay. So in Java, have you guys heard of method class casting? So you all do Java basic like class A inherit class B, then you can cast A to B. No, have roughly. Okay, so the reason why I'm trying to do this is because product detail model actually inherits product class, and at the same time, product manager get product return new product class. No, because the thing why they're trying to do this is because that they both don't have the same base. So by the virtue of having the same base, I want to see whether Java can actually populate the existing product attributes with what it can pull from product itself. Now I can't do this if these two classes, product detail and product, are totally different classes. That means there's no relation at all. But they're related because one is a inherited class. I want to see if instead of manually one property by one property assigning, can I do this so that I don't code so much. So let's try this and see if I can get the result that I desire. So if casting works, then I don't need to manually assign values to each property in there. Oh, sorry, 999 doesn't exist. Okay, so obviously I don't think I can do that. Okay, it cannot be cast. Okay, unfortunately. So unfortunately, get product cannot be cast to a different class, even though it's inherited from that. Okay, that's a bit tricky. Because I don't really want to write a code to assign values by values. Let me check something. Mm, Java generics. Okay, I'm just dreaming. I hope I can do this. maybe not. So too bad I have to do this quite dumb thing. Okay, hopefully I just need to do this once. Then every time I call the constructor with the product object, you use this a couple of times, it will feel more worth it to have typed outside. Because the thing about typing all this out is that it is high chance that you'll miss something out somewhere along the way. Did I miss anything out? Let me check if I miss anything out. Category ID, deal type, okay. Okay, so this looks correct back here. Okay, no, back here. Okay, so this doesn't work. So I'm gonna just get this one out. Now get product has a chance that it will be null. So better check first. Okay. So I'm gonna call a new instance of this, but I'm gonna pass get product inside. Okay. Then maybe do this one object, do this method of generating the actions. Okay. And then I return this. Okay. Before I do that, I need to put this up there. Okay. So what exactly is happening is get the product object, declare a detail model as null first. Now if the product object is not null, then I can populate the product, the detail model, and then set the action. So action generator, this is supposed to, this method here is supposed to look at the state of the data and then decide, okay, can it show a delete and update method link, or can it should it show a post an offer, submit offer link? Okay, so this will determine, it has some kind of logic determine, oh, you should do something or not. Okay, so now we'll settle with this, make sure that we get back the objects, the detailed, the actions attribute. Then we'll look at the logic. I think my token expired already. Okay. Here I go. Send. So this is the updated object. No changes except for there's a new property called actions, which we haven't populated yet. Okay. So we can let's say put some mock actions on it just to see how this works. So let's go to this method called create details actions. So to have a bit of background on what you can possibly do, you say if product belongs to the current context user, show update remove links. Okay. Product else show post offer. Now remember we have in here a requirement post a buy offer to product. So when this happens when a visitor or guest is looking at the details and decided that I can have a post offer, I say I'll make offer, and here is where I can actually create that different state in the data. So it doesn't belong to the current user or the current contact user, which is whoever's making the API call. I can show a post offer link instead. Okay, so usually at the beginning when I have build logic, maybe I'll try to display all of them first, and then later add in business logic to filter them. So in the actions, if I want to, let's say, show the update remove link, how do I do it? So let me create a new action object. This will be an update. So what does the update action look like? Okay, the update action looks like this. It has a put, and what will be this URL, right? Okay. So if I have the product information, which is the product information pass in here, I can say the update action is a put, and it sends information it sends it to this particular URL, product slash ID. And okay, of course I can specify a name, which is update product. So that's one action. So let's create a next action, which is delete action. So the delete action has a method which is using a delete method and reference. So in this case, it's similar or actually the same, product by ID. Okay. Last action will be post an offer link. Okay. Post by offer. Okay, so for post by offer, because you're adding another offer to the offer sub resource of the product, right? So you would do a post. And for as for the link will be depending on the design. So if you created the offers as a sub resource, right? Likely it will probably be products followed by the ID, path parameter, then followed by this offers. Okay. Now assuming I am going to just return all these possible actions. Okay, so let me just push it all in. Then later, have the different business logic rules. So let me add the update action. So later I will say, okay, if currently I'm looking at the owner of the product, owner who listed this product, then I will say add this action, add that action. Okay. So let me just update the code. And I think my token expired again. Okay, so can you see the actions of these now? So all this allow your app to actually navigate. Oh, if I want to update, I do a put. Okay, but of course, I think there's some real logic that says in your app that it needs to be aware that if I'm doing a put, I should be storing this somewhere, and then later after the user submitted the form update the product details, then I use this URL to send. Now, if I want to delete, then I can just really delete the product, or in between call or confirmation, then I execute this endpoint. Otherwise, if it's a user who's browsing, then he want to post, okay, So you can use this endpoint in the Android app to say, okay, after the user has given the amount, then you can do a post by this endpoint. Okay, so now I'm going to introduce rules, right, to change the way these three things appear. So sometimes two of them will appear, sometimes only one of them will appear based on certain rules. So based on the rule here that if a product belongs to the current context user, which is the current user is looking at it, I only show the update and remove. Now if it's not, I only show the post offer. So in order to fulfill this business logic, I need to know that I need to know from here, am I looking at the current user who sent the request or not? So far in product information, how do I know that? So let's look at the product class first. So because this method takes one parameter, which is the product class, does it have anywhere that tells me that this is created by somebody? So at the moment, you can look at the attributes. It's like it has ID, name, information about the item, but no information about who created this thing, right? So I think what's missing here, really importantly, is a user ID. So once I add a user ID to say, oh, this product is created by, or you can say owned by, right? Owned by user. So you save the user ID into the system. Now, do we have users? Let's see. At the moment, we don't have a users yet. Okay. So coming down to this band of the road is now that we have categories of products, we don't actually have users. We do have a method that guesses a token, but it's not tagged to any user at all. So at this point, you can actually decide now. Can I just should I just create the user table along with all the register user, login user, and then start identifying products that are created by the user and all that. So it becomes a little bit of additional endpoints to create because you need to account for how the products are created or owned by different users in the system. Okay, so we can do that. So if we do that, then later on, once we have identification of users, we can then identify who is the buyer and who's the seller. So this will be useful for the part when we create the chat features. Because when you start a chat and you can reply a chat, you actually need to identify different users already. Okay, so to really get that part going, we need to create a new set of classes. What first class you need to create or define will be basically how to define a user in your system. So in general, we call them users, okay, or user of Java, right? So what is a user, or what attributes does a user have? Okay. So first of all, it has an ID that's system generated, database generated, right? But it also has a type. And you need to decide how do you want to define a type. You want to use a string to define a type, or it's a member, it's a admin. Okay, so in general, when we say, okay, everyone is a member, as long as you're a buyer or seller, you're still a member. So we don't have a distinction of that role yet. Because a member can also be a buyer at the same time. A seller can be a buyer at the same time. So we just distinguish the type as in, is he a member or admin? Admin will be, somebody that sits in the back office and updating and gets access to all the information to manage it. Next thing that we're going to record will be first name and last name. So just like any typical public facing system, you always have parts of the information that you collect about the user itself. In some systems that we design, sometimes we separate this thing about user account, which is login information, and profile information. So if you look at the very simple way, you probably combine profile and login information as one object or one table. Sometimes it's easier to actually just cut the line there and say, okay, I will create a account information, which is everything to do with login, like what's your password, your username, what's your recovery email, your recovery phone number, and whether your account is locked or not locked, or when was the last time you logged in, or how many failed attempts have you tried. So this is everything to do with account information. Then things to do with your personal information like name, NIC, where do you live, what's your phone number. Okay, you could put under profile, or there you can have more non-essential things like, okay, you want to have an alias or unique name in the system, you can also do that. So the profile becomes something more expandable, where the account or login information becomes something very crucial to the system. So there can be a few ways to do this. If you want to do it simple, you can just combine the two like this case. So I'll have email, maybe I'll have, so say my email will be the login, right? So email will be actually the login. Maybe it's best to say username. Okay. But they could also use login email to login, right? Or use email as username. Next thing will be password. So here are very basic information about a person or the user. So type is admin member. Actually, I shouldn't call it type, I should call it role. The reason why I call it role is because, okay, in my resources, yeah, we annotate by saying roles allowed. So let's keep the roles as a way of identifying the type of user. So this is my basic user model. What I need to do is go to the database and create something similar in this structure. So new table, okay, users, and the ID will of course be a primary key. Oh, okay, not that. Primary key not now, auto increment. Okay. Next one will be row. Row will be a varchar, cannot be empty. And then our first name, not now. Last name, not now also. Username, which is your login name, cannot be now. And finally, password. Okay, so I didn't change the varchar settings. All give me 45, which is I think good enough for most of them. Maybe name I could give it a little longer, like 100. Okay, yeah. So that's it. Create a table. So now I have a users table, and because of course, how do we start is, let's look at it first. So I have accounts. Okay, so in my accounts, which is dealing with login, which I'll use the user table for the purpose, is that whenever I get a key, a JWT, I do authorization, and I will send in this thing called authenticate model. Now the authenticate model, if I look at the declaration of how what it consists of, is it has a username and password. Okay, so something I will refer to a user table for to give a valid token. Okay, right now it's set as well, there's no real checking here. It just straight create a token. So here I need to actually really check if username and password exists. Okay. So before I check, I need to have at least one user who's a member in the table, in the user table here. Otherwise, it's empty now, so I can't actually get anything. So we already have a create account up here, right? See the create account, new account, true. So this new account thing, let's see, does it go to the database? Probably not. Okay. So this create account, what we're trying to do last time with sending an email response using SendGrid. Okay, I'm going to just for a moment, let's just take this away. Marketplace. Okay, so the marketplace. Maybe for the time being, I may turn off the email setting first. So what you need to do here is, say to DB get account ID, generate code using account ID, and via OTP send email. So this part where OTP is useful for one-time password or passwordless login, or otherwise you can also use it for verification of the user. So normally when you register for any platform, they'll ask you, please confirm your email account. The reason why you do that is to make sure that you're not a bot trying to register for accounts. I think register for a lot of accounts online. So if you do click on the link, I think there's a chance that you are a human, not a robot. Sometimes you also have other mechanisms to identify if you are human or not. So that is to actually ensure that you are a person. Now, some of this confirmation also can be done via phone number. Like they say, oh, click on the link in email. Then you go to the link, they say, oh, I send you SMS now. Or then you need to key in OTP. So if you actually have a phone and you can send and you put in an OTP, there's a higher chance that you're probably a person than a robot. Okay? Although it can still be controlled by bots. So these are all the different login registration mechanisms that's available outside. Now for now, it's just single purpose is to save whatever information here that's useful into the database. Okay, so I think I missed out some stuff like I have country code and mobile, which an email which I didn't put into my database. Okay, so for the sake of that part, let me change my user and include these three things: email, country code, and mobile. So I got email, country code, and mobile. Okay, so the database. Okay, so you will come across a situation whereby you create a table, but how do you change attributes, right? Okay, so I'm very gung ho. I can try to do this auto table, users, and then add column what email, varchar 45 or varchar 100, 150. Not now. Okay, will this work? Yeah, okay, it works. So this is one way of writing the SQL command. I got a few more attributes property add, country code and mobile. So country code usually is not very long. Mobile also not very long. So let me run this too. Okay, all in. Good. Okay, so in my manager class, you do have account manager. Yeah. Okay, so here is when I need to do all the database things. So the database stuff I need to do includes getting connection and all this other stuff, right? Most likely I'll use all of them. Oh, I got some extra. Most likely I'll use all of them. So might as well put them in. Okay. Okay. Since I'm going to connect the database, I must do this first. Set up try and catch. Okay, get a connection, and then create a prepared statement. And the SQL line here is to insert to users. Okay, so what am I going to insert the users? Okay, so here's a little bit of disconnect if you're feeling confused. Is that I actually have a lot of columns. Okay, minus the ID, a lot of columns here, right? But my create account, I only took email, first name, country code, mobile. Okay. So how you want to create account mechanism up to you. So if you try logging and creating accounts in some systems, some of them will let you create a password on your own. Some of them will generate a password for you. Okay, so obviously if you want to create a password on your own, then you need to send it into web service. So then probably a parameter for password. Or you can let it create one password for you. Okay. Either way is not wrong. It just depends on what's your rationale for doing so. So then change email to username, or rather I still have email, but I will have email, username, password, first name, last name, country code, mobile. Okay. So I just store these few things only. So here will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 parameters. Okay. So here I'm going to set different values. First one is email. Email, username, password, last name. Oh, sorry. First name, last name, country code, and mobile. Change the indexes. Execute this. Okay. Because I know it may fail. Any SQL exceptions comes up, will be caught here. Like I said, that's false. Okay. Okay. Do I want to return the ID? I guess if maybe you shouldn't, because is the ID any use to the, depends on the ID if any use to the Android application. Okay. So sometimes you want to just create an account, then you have a full option of verifying account, then the user goes back to the Android app, then you can log in once again. So for this case, I'm not going to create. I'm not going to give a. Maybe I just create a yes or no result, boolean, true or false. That's it. Then end, turn a result. So I modified some how this method works, create account significantly. To comment the accounts, I need to change a few things. Okay. So obviously now I actually expect new account to have more than just this information. So then we go to my create account model. Okay. Now I have things like username, password as well, right? Okay, username and password, the new things. So here I will need to specify what are the other information I want to send in. So after email, send the username and password. Okay. Okay. So here I would send the result. If anything happens, the result will be false. So this is the updated create account. So after that, I'm going to work on this authenticate method to check. So authenticate method receives an authenticate model which consists of username and password, just as anybody logging in. So what I need to do in that resource is to check in database whether the username and password exists or not. Okay, so in the accounts manager, I will need to have a kind of like authentication or check. So simple method to check username password, right? Most basic of all authentication things. Check username and passwords. So it's valid. Assume it's always false. So here I will do my normal get connection business. that statement. Okay, so here I'll say, so what do I need to know? I need to know if, actually you can do it, yeah, like this. So it start from users, where username is equal to this, and password is equal to this. Okay, segment stack the string. Okay. So if this statement, if it is successful and I retrieve a row, I should retrieve only one, not multiple. Then result will have a next. So straight away, I don't need to get any data from there. I just need to set if result is equal to this. Okay. So this is good enough to check, to tell me if the username exists or not. So this method I'll use it to in the accounts service here. So I'll say, okay, if check username password, right? Model.username model.password. So if this is successful, then I will create the access token and then return that. Now if this is not successful, I may want to return a separate response. Let's see, the other response I return is unauthorized. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So if the username password exists, then I'll create a token and return it. If not, I will give you a status unauthorized response. Actually, you can change it. Like you can give a message, you can give something else. Okay. So far, this is a simple way of doing it. I've not done another method of authentication whereby I retrieve the users based on username only. Then I check the password. Okay, there's another method where there's this batch that I set a question. I actually show them a code to ask them how do you lock an account if you fail to log in 3 times. You all get encountered before, right? If you fail to put your correct password, your Google account or your Hotmail or something will lock you there, right? Okay, so to do that, you can't just do a statement like this. You actually need to retrieve by username, check the password, and then you need to store a counter for seeing how many times the person failed login, and then keep on increasing the number until it hits a number in your computer and say that, oh, okay, by this number the person should be locked. Then you lock the account. So to do that kind of locking account, you need to store more information, of course, in the user table. See, but today we just do a simple username password check and all that, right? We don't do the full scale of authentication. Okay. So before we have any users that can actually use, because now this authorization method will not work at all because it's expecting a proper username password there that exists. So we need to create a new method to actually create an account. So the creation account would go to this called accounts post. Post in an account is an endpoint which will create an account. So if I were to do that, I would use this URL, create a new one, change to account. So the URL or the endpoint call is under accounts, the resource, and you do a post. And the body for this So this will be the, let's see, under the models will be a create account, right? So these are all the attributes I need to send through. So follow this set of attributes. Okay, this is done. So let's send this in. Status false. Users correct. Oh, row. Forget very important thing. Forgot the row. Okay, it didn't work just now because I forgot to include row, which in my users table I say row cannot be a noun. So I must account for that. Me add there is a last item. In here I need to okay. Now here I decided to hard code member into create account because I don't think administrators can just create accounts straight away lah. So I think depending on your use case, you may want to separate creation of administrators. Members have a generic API to use. Okay, so let's update this one. Do that again. Still false. Email, username, password, first name, last name, country code, mobile. Hmm? Oh yeah, one more question mark. Yeah, correct. Yay, okay. Thank you very much. Ah, okay, so in. Okay. This is a wrong demonstration of how you store password in database. By right, all should be encrypted. So you cannot see. Which if you encrypt the password, right? Let me see. If you encrypt password, can still check like this. Just I need to here before you do this, you need to encrypt the password first. Then you can check. Okay. Now I'm gonna do authorization. So the previous authorization endpoint sends in this information, right? Now if I send the information in, right, I'll fail lah. Then unauthorized. Okay. So I need to change the information to something that exists. Example, this guy. Okay. See? if right now if you send in something that doesn't exist in database, this will definitely tell you forbidden, unauthorized. If you send in something that fits, then you get this information. Okay. So first part of our identify, is it what kind of user is sort of there, or you know what's the current user. So now we have a user at least. Okay. We go back to okay the products resource. Okay. So this part about the action generator. So action generator for a product, which is your headers links, right, depend on the state of the product or the state of the current information being passed in. Primarily the current user. So you want to know from this so-called endpoint, who is the current user actually calling this get one product information from. You actually need to identify the current user. How do you do that? Okay, so let's take a look at so there are a few ways to do this. So right now, because we're using barrel authentication, so barrel authentication means whenever the request comes in, there's a token. The token allows you to store information about the current user, for example, ID, name, or some kind of identification. So that's one way to extract information and then pass it into the method to decide, should you show different links based on the current user profile. It can be an ID, then you do a database retrieval to check the type of user. Is he a member, or is he, oh, no, is he the owner of the product based on ID itself? Okay. Another way to do this is whenever your Android app sends a request, it can also encode the user ID in one of the headers. So in order to get ID, there are many ways. One, you get a token, or you get from the header sent from the Android app or the client machine. So let's say I want to use the token. Okay. So in order to use the JDBC, I must first ensure when I create a token, it needs to include the user ID into the token itself. Okay. So right now let's take a look at token. So the token creation here. So I have things like subject, role, name, right? Payload after subject. So first one is ID, or the token, the issuer ID, followed by the issuer name, then followed by subject. The subject here is user, then followed by payload. So payload is this parameter here that has nothing there now at the moment. So if I want to put the user ID, right, I need to have at least get it from somewhere. Okay. Currently, when I do check username password, it just checks. It doesn't give me the user. So maybe here I'm going to get account of user ID. Then I can populate this user ID, pass it into the access token. Then from there, whenever the request comes in, I can from here somehow grab the value from the access token. So let's say change. So things like name. Change that first. Add some other information to inject the token. So in order to get the user ID and role name, I need to have a get user method from the accounts manager class. So username should be unique. Okay. And here I will attempt to get the user. So prepare the statement. So here, yep, get everything. Maybe I don't get everything. Just get some the important information here first. I don't care about the rest lah. Just want to get this first. Normally when we retrieve user information, one thing we don't return back is the password. So you only return password only when necessary. So you notice a lot of login system when you have the change password, they normally bring to another separate page. And you need to key in the current password and you change the password. Okay, so the reason is that when you normally when we develop systems like this, when you have user account information that is going to be extra retrieved from database, we just retrieve everything except for password. And the user want to change the password, we actually get the current password to validate first before we update the password again. So in this case, right, there's always a case. The case is we always never extract the password from the database and send it anywhere. So in fact, the password never exits the database as in any form, whether it's a network data, packet data, or in the system memory. So we try to avoid taking it out, lah, basically. So for here, I'll just do username, role, and ID because I only need this few information. Okay. So here, I'll do a get user, username. So this is done. Okay. So I got the ID and role. So the ID will go into user ID and role name will go into the token payload itself. Okay. So what I need to do next is when I am at the product Java here, during this part, how do I get the access token, right? Refer to the oh wrong one. where's context? Okay, so not C sharp. Okay, I want to get this thing HTTP servlet current context. Mm, okay, try this one. So when I do this, I want more context, and then I can get yeah, kind. Okay. Ah, oh, let's do this again. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm using this annotation of context. So context allows me to access the headers with for any of the endpoint I'm using. So as long as I include this as a parameter, I should be able to get a header, and from there I get a header value for authorization. So getting a header string for authorization will return me this value here, the whole thing. So the whole value here for authorization, before I can use it, I need to remove the barrel in front, barrel and space. So I do a replace. Okay. Okay. So after replace, I need to refer back to our barrel authentication Java to see how I actually extract the other values from there. So what I want to extract from here is basically the ID, the user ID that they're actually embedded inside. Okay. So there's this method under JDBC token written before. It says get claims. And you need to pass in the JWT, which is the string. So claims itself should be able to return me the different rows that I want to get out. Go back to products. Okay. So you import this. Claims and import as well. So here's auth token. Right. Okay, let me check. GW token get claims. Okay. Before I do that, I need to add the method get claims first. So it should work. So get claims here. So after the getting claims, so claims is a set is actually like a dictionary hash key trap object. So there's a key followed by the value. To get a better understanding of how the claims look like, you can go to the barrel authentication and look at the way that no, go to JW token Java and look at the way the claims was created. Okay, so in the JWT token class, JWT token Java at line 29, there's a builder. The builder actually allows you to set information in token. For example, here I create claim and say in my claim for row what is the value, in a claim for name what is the value. So depending on what you want to set inside the token, the payload actually comes mostly from here, the claim. So let's look at our payload here. So payload originally is just a random string. it can be anything I want. But actually, hadn't actually here looking at the code, hadn't actually put payload inside it. So I think because I'm using payload to put the ID, so I think for now I need to put it in here. So assuming payload is anything I like, but this time I want to put a user ID inside. So I need to set a claim saying this is my claim to payload and what's the data inside. Okay, so whatever you want to store. So if you want to store ID, the ID will appear inside there. Now in my product Java, when I extract the claims, it will allow me to pull out the payload or the claim that I want. So now there are three payloads: role, name, and payload as a generic data. So if I pull this one out, okay, what I should get inside there, this value should be the user ID that I stored when I generate token. Okay, so first, second, third, fourth parameter, which is the payload, is where I'm gonna store the user ID. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So now if I manage to get this out, which is actually the user ID, okay, I should be able to pass it, use that to pass it into get product itself. Of course, I think I need to. Okay, so who knows how to convert string to integer? So if I'm going to send a second parameter to this method, I will need to change it to include user ID. Let's go to product. Let me add one more user ID. Okay. So if product owned by user is equal to this, then I will include this too. Else, I will generate the buy offer action. Okay. Now I haven't had this value defined yet, right? So I created a user table, I created the authentication, I created a check to get the user ID from the token, but I don't have the part with the product. So now I have owned by user attribute, but in my products table, I don't have that yet. So I definitely need to update my plus table. We alter table, okay, alter products, column, okay, my column, is it? Is it? On my user is a int no. Okay. So owned by user. So now that I've changed that, I need to make sure that I also update the product manager class. This one. Okay. Okay. When adding into this, one more. 10, right? Okay, so when updating, I will not change this because it shouldn't be changed. Okay, so that one's done. So I want to purposely do a test. So let's look at user first. First user created as ID1. So I'm going to go to products and manually change a few of the items, right, just to demonstrate that. Close these tabs. Okay. So first product, I'm going to set him user ID1 as the so-called owner. Okay. Okay, so I have that done. So let me restart. So in order for this to work, I need to get a new token for user 1 so that I have the user ID in the token. Then I make a request to view the one product as a user 1 and then later create another user and see what happens. So let's get the token. So this is my new token. If you're interested to see what actually is inside, paste it here. You know this payload here has a value 1, so 1 comes from user ID, and the rest is up to you what you want to put inside. So now we know for sure the token has it. Next step. So I got a token. So let's go to the get one product, right? Change, update my token here. So now you can see that actions have changed. So I'm the current user. Oh wait. Oh, this was not updated. Owned by user is 0. Okay, that's funny, but this is correct. Let me change it. Let me take a look at that. Oh, because in here I never update this. Okay. Let's do that one more time. Okay. Yeah, this is correct. And you can counter check. So this product is created by user ID1. So if he goes in get the data from the API, it gives you two options you can do. For now, update product or delete product. Okay, I'm going to add one more user, register one more user, who and then view this product again. So now I'm taking the situation of, this other user is actually visiting and he wants to see what's available in the marketplace. So create a new person. Okay. Let's take a look at the new person in the database. Okay, 7% is there. Now I'm going to get myself a new token. So imagine second person create an account, Android app, now log in, right? It gets a new token. Your Android will store the token somewhere in memory or in the local storage. Okay, and the person starts browsing for products. Okay, and decided to view one particular item. The person in the response now tells now the response coming back for the same endpoint, but different user says that, oh, this user can do something, can post a buy offer, cannot update delete. So this is how you create ATLs. So the same endpoint, the same API actually gives you different states of the data based on the context. So context is this product, does this product belong to the current user looking at it or not? If it is, then it presents different links. If it's not, it presents different links. So this is what ATLs means. So in a way, I'm creating state based on the data. So now that I've finished this part, so yeah, so from our view one product with Helios links in a way like a first iteration of what it can do is completed. Technically, you have got this done. So in order for you to continue, you can actually choose to add on more logic to the product detail. So depending on what your idea of the marketplace is, what users can do, you can add more features so that it demonstrates more the feature of the state. So because after offer, you can actually do things like start a chat. So chat is also a sub resource of product, right? That's also a possibility. Also, by the way, because we created a create account endpoint, technically you actually finish doing this one, register for buy account. Okay. So today, in total, overall, what we have managed to complete are these 4 endpoints. Not too bad, right? Okay. So now the endpoint can create account, can log in, can view product. The product will show different information based on the owner or not. You can post a product for sale, update and delete. So you are getting there to a basic marketplace carousel. Okay. Okay. Time is now 9 o'clock. You want to continue or I can finish the next 4 endpoint the next lesson. Next lesson will be on 30th. So let's say the next lesson I finish the 4 endpoint, right? On the 6th we will do revision. Is it 6? No, 6 is actually interview already. Interview already. Revision. The last day to submit is actually this week lah. So 13 is the exam. Test I cannot say exam, sorry, I must say test. So 13 is the test. That week by right is the last week of submission. Latest I can pull is 20th lah. Okay. Exam revision lah. 6 lor. 6. Actually 6 is also interview lah. But you want to do interview on 13 on the 13th, I'm fine with that also. So if you want to do interview on the 13th after exam or before exam, let me know. Then I come here early. Then we can do it. So interview is not mandatory. Is if you have question to clarify about your assignment tool, like why your program cannot run, or you want to implement something, you hit a bottom, you hit a obstacle lah. You don't know how to continue, right? Then we use interview to clear it. Only interview. When you're very confident lah, that means you test post everything work, right? Then go lah. Submit. If everything works, you don't need interview actually. Okay. So up to you. You want to hang around, try to create the app. I mean the endpoints.